Welcome back to our YouTube channel, The Book Digest. In today's episode, we're diving into a powerful and practical summary of The Surrender Experiment by Michael A. Singer. Okay, let's dive right in. The book kicks off with a question that honestly gets right to the heart of being human. Is the voice in your head really running your life? And think about it for a second. Once you notice it, you can't unnotice it, right?
And this is exactly what hit a young Michael Singer. I mean, here was a guy, a graduate student, who from the outside looked like he had it all together. But on the inside, he realized this constant narrator was just churning out anxiety 24/7.
So he starts to look at this voice, this inner roommate, not as him, but as something he could just watch. And that simple shift led to this massive, life-changing question. If I'm the one watching the voice, then who am I?
So to figure this out, he basically just checks out from the world. He goes off to a little house in the woods and just meditates. And what he finds is incredible. He discovers that underneath all that mental chatter, there's this deep sense of peace and awareness. And the key thing is, it was always there, just buried under all the noise.
Okay, so this discovery leads him to this really radical experiment. He realized that his personal mind, the part of him with all its preferences and fears, was constantly fighting with the flow of life. It was creating all this friction. So he thought, what if I just did the opposite? What if I stopped resisting?
Now, to be really clear here, this wasn't about just sitting back and doing nothing. The rule of the experiment was simple. Instead of letting his personal likes and dislikes call all the shots, he would just say yes to whatever life brought to his doorstep.
And this is such a key point because a lot of people hear surrender and think it means giving up, right? But that's not it at all. It was an active choice to show up and participate in whatever was happening, whether he liked it or not.
All right, so what happens when he actually starts doing this? Well, the results were pretty mind-blowing, and the first test happened almost right away. Some woman he barely knew asked if she could come meditate at his totally private, secluded home. His mind is just screaming, no, this is my sanctuary. But the experiment had only one answer, yes. And believe it or not, that one yes started a chain reaction. More people showed up, a community formed. They ended up building a whole temple. And the crazy part? He never planned a single bit of it. This just became the pattern. Life would offer some wild, unexpected opportunity, his mind would freak out, he'd say yes anyway, and his world would just keep getting bigger.
I mean, just look at the scale of this. It's just wild. This guy goes from living alone in the woods, just wanting to meditate, to becoming the chairman of a huge, publicly traded company. Not because he was ambitious, but because he just kept saying yes to what was right in front of him.
He had to figure out how to handle this insane contrast between his inner world of peace and the chaotic outer world of business, and he found that his meditation practice was the anchor that made it all possible, that let him navigate it all with this sense of, well, almost bemused wonder.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing. The experiment was about to face its biggest test yet, a test that could have destroyed everything that life had built through him.
Out of nowhere, Singer and his company get targeted in this massive federal criminal investigation. I mean, we're talking the very real, very terrifying threat of prison time for things he didn't even know about.
So he has two paths, right? There's the fear response, the one his mind is screaming at him to take, lawyer up, fight, resist, or there's the surrender response. And after all these years of practice, he chose to surrender to the situation itself, not to his fear. He chose total transparency instead of fighting.
And in the end, by choosing that path, he came through the whole thing with his integrity, everything intact. It proved that surrender isn't about being weak or avoiding problems. It's about facing them with a totally different kind of strength, one that comes from openness, not from resistance.
Okay, so when you step back and look at all this, you have to ask, why does this work? What's really going on here that makes this so powerful? Well, the wisdom behind it is actually pretty profound. See, your personal mind, that voice in your head, it has a super limited view of things. It's just trying to create a future based on stuff that's already happened. The idea here is that life, with a capital L, has a much bigger, more intelligent flow that your little mind just can't see. Surrender is about tapping into that.
And that's really the ultimate point of the book. The life that unfolded for him wasn't necessarily easier, but it was so much bigger, so much more beautiful and extraordinary than anything his little personal mind could have ever cooked up on its own.
And that really leaves us with the book's final question, but this one is for you. What might happen in your own life if you just loosened the reins a little? If you stopped trying to force everything to go according to your plan, and instead just started listening to what life itself seems to be asking of you?